we're transitioning right now. This is Just Talking, where our guest who is joining us via Zoom, we got Kenneth Hughes, the producer of Vampire Burts Serenade. How's it going, my friend?
Good. I'm just getting my disinfectant in right now. I feel COVID-free.
I'm starting to see that orange glow.
I think you're actually shining from the inside out. Good job.
That would be my UV light. I swallowed one. It's good. It's good.
Oh, okay. You just leave it there. Just inject it in. But hey, you know what? Vampires, blood, and strippers. That's how I got to start it up, because that sounds like my kind of musical. So what is Vampire Burts Serenade all about?
Well, okay, let's see. Vampire Burts Serenade is a musical. There's dance, there's music, there's zombies, there's blood, there's vampires. And the meta, I guess, is monsters, the humanity, the painful humanity of monsters, which somehow seems to correlate with maybe our current lives. I don't know, maybe not.
And how do you say it like that? I mean, obviously there's something maybe that's reflecting during these times. Is that something that kind of inspired the way that Vampire Burts Serenade got started?
I think we are a bunch of crazy, ludicrous people involved in this project. and so it probably wouldn't have mattered either way, but it certainly is interesting how it's reflecting. You know, I just look at there's the main story, and that's a fun, racy, great, raunchy, ridiculous story. Then there's this, there's a little bit of meta in there where you go, oh God, that's a little,
Right.
So, yeah. I don't want to give any plot away, any story points, but it definitely does seem to reflect on the things that I think we all relate to of the humans that are sometimes more monstrous than some of the monsters we might know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're living among us, right? And I know Marissa, she's so much involved in theater, and she was really interested on the whole process of how Vampire Burts Serenade got started. So, Marissa.
Yeah, okay. So I watched your trailer, all right, and I was dying laughing. I'm like, either this is going to be a cult classic or it's going to be a dismal failure. So you have one or the other, okay? Fingers crossed for cult classic.
Well, first of all, Marissa knows all, and I took the lesson earlier. I know that you know, and you're exactly right. And really, that's when, at this level of independent filmmaking, this was the spirit that I enter in, which is, let's do things that studios would never try. Let's do things that no one would try, and let's make it. Let's attempt to make it the sort of thing that if we were sitting in the audience, this is what I always say. If we were sitting watching it, we would go, "Oh my God, I want to do that." But of course, with that comes this other side where it's like, "Oh no, oh God, people are going to see that and talk about it."
That is so funny, because honestly, when I saw the trailer, the reason why I'm leaning on it's going to be a cult classic, because it reminded me of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, it's not at all, it's totally different, aesthetic, but the whole musical that's being done differently, that has a shock value to it. So what was your inspiration for this?
Well, so being the crazy, ridiculous, maybe even stupid producer that I am, I find, and it's the old-fashioned way, I find things that I go, wow, this is a great artist. I'd like to see them able to make movies. And that's what happened with Ken Roat. So to be very fair, it is his baby entirely. And he's a small theater guy in LA that's done very well, which is, akin to an Elon Musk. And to be able to do well in small theater in LA is just, you're Elon Musk. That's it. You're amazing. And he was one of those guys. And, he's an amazing, stunning creator, and he's also has some hecticness to deal with sometimes. So I had these two things of like, I really want to work with this guy. Oh, I'm so scared he's going to kill me and blow things up. And finally he presented me a short story, and I had been trying for years to figure out something that I could work with him. And he presented me a short story about a vampire musical. And I said, "You are an idiot. I would never do that. That is the stupidest thing." Literally. I was like, no. And I don't do short films. He's like, "It's okay. I can make it a feature. Just read it. He asked me. And I was like, oh God, okay. Read it. And I was blown away. It was so good. And I said, okay, make that a feature, which is no small order. And I think literally it was about a week later, he presented me with, and he said, what's the feature? I go, 75, 80 pages. He presented me a script, and I went, wow, this is ridiculous. And I've never had a writer in one present something, and then I said, we did rewrites. We did really one rewrite, which is unheard of.
Wow.
And that was it. And so all is to say, he was truly the inspiration. I am merely a follower, a zombie follower. And and it really was his baby, and his crazy, he's a madman who can make a vampire zombie musical work and compelling.
Yeah, and I think what I like a lot, just being in the industry, is hearing, hear someone with a producer who wants to put behind a project. He's like, well, I need X, Y, Z. And that was given to you within a week, not 6 months, not a year, right? And I think that is something that just in the industry in general, it's about being on the iron, being hot, ready to just jump forward. Otherwise, you will miss your opportunity. So that's cool.
It is, and it's nice that you pick up on that, because the reality is I spend, developing projects with writers and writer directors and things like that, which I love, I love doing, but it's, usually a 2-year process. And they always say, oh, we'll be done in a month or 2. And I go,
yeah, right.
Sure. So it was really, and that's really because of his experience in small theater. He's just a beast of creation. So
I think, you know what, Kenneth, you actually mentioned something so cool, because especially with me in graduate school, I never respected theater the way that I probably should have since day one in undergrad for film. I think so many kids, or especially if you want to become a filmmaker, are skipping that step of joining theater productions because they're afraid of how I always viewed theater. It's, you got to either live or die by the arts. But sometimes you don't have to spend a year or 2 on a project. You can make things happen now. And what would you tell to those filmmakers who have been avoiding theater for so long? What message would you send to them?
Wow. It's tricky. You got to follow your heart. But I like to say to people, try more. Here's the deal. I grew up kind of an alt kid. I grew up, 1 foot in the industry and 1 foot in the underground of it, you might say. And what is amazing in theater usually is the offbeat stuff, the non-mainstream, at least for me. So I'm always looking for those weirdo projects, and I'm always looking for those weirdo shows. And I go to 3 bad ones to get one that's just, wow, just mind-blowing. Yeah. So my thing is, try to get messy a little bit. Try to see things that aren't necessarily on the path, the main pathway. But that's me. That's my taste. So some people that like the mainstream everything, they're going to be like, I can't wait to kill that Kenneth Hughes guy when I see him. Like, his terrible suggestion. But I really do love getting off the beaten path and just crazy creators. Even if I hate it, I go, whose idea was it to drop through the ceiling? That's right.
And also, just because I have to throw it out there, because it was Willie Shake's birthday yesterday, William Shakespeare, for all you non-theater people. If you ever see good Shakespeare, which doesn't exist in America normally, but if you can see good Shakespeare, it'll blow your mind, absolutely blow your mind. And every once in a while, you'll get one.
And I need some of that good Shakespeare. I haven't seen it yet, but you know what, Kenneth, you were talking about this broken path, and you know what? You actually got a musical up on Amazon Prime, which I had no idea they even did that to begin with. And you're talking about a broken path in theater. Well, I know some of my theater professors are having a heart attack that you actually shot a theater piece shot by shot. That is a sin in the theater world. So how will you respond to all these theater professors around the world that are like, Kenneth Hughes, what are you doing?
Here's how it goes. I reach to my left gun, I reach to my right gun, and I go, what? No, I take it back. The whole thing about academics in arts is an important and really tragic thing. Because on the one side, we learn so much, we get exposed to so much, we get encouraged so much. On the other side, we can often kill our voice and kill our originality. And so when you hear about rules, of course, especially me, and probably you guys, because you have that sort of anti-establishment glow about you. The whole thing is you go, no, I'm gonna try. And yes, it's foolhardy. Yes, usually they're right that you shouldn't, break the rules that have been established for thousands of years. But it is a great endeavor, and because once in a while, when those rules are broken, that's where genius begins, right? And so you could say, I'm the non-genius scratching at the door of genius, trying to see what's possible.
I feel you because, Marissa, we used to joke about it. I mean, we think, William Shakespeare is like the millennial trendsetter. If he was here today, he'd be so hip with his clothing. He'd probably be like a Coachella person. He'd probably want to film all his kind of content. And I think that's just the beauty about theater, because I think a lot of that kind of stuff transitions so well, especially going into the film universe. But I definitely have a big question I want to ask you, because when I heard that Kevin Richardson from the Backstreet Boys is the vampire in Vampire Burt's Serenade, I was like, how did you guys even get him? I didn't even know he even wanted to do something like this.
No, even on top of Kevin, don't forget the zombie Zappa. Oh my
God. Diva Zappa, right? Yes. Frank Zappa's daughter. So how did this even go into fruition?
It's crazy, but Diva knew Ken wrote and was a fan, and I had nothing to do with that. It came through one of the cast members that knew her and brought it up, and she was all in. And Kevin, I grew up in LA, so I always say if I grew up in a coal mining town, I surely would have been a coal miner. I grew up in this town, so I know a lot of people just, happenstance. And so it was something I was able to get to him personally. And I just always remember even the audition, we were all surprised. And even to ask the guy to audition was, reckless. But he came in and he did the audition.
I hate to cut you off, but how so? What do you mean that Kevin Richardson coming in was quite reckless?
Well, we are a very small independent film, and we certainly did not win him with the money we were offering.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's why I was wondering, because he was on a world tour. So, like, how did you pull him in?
The reality was that the reality to me is he's a great artist. And when we approached, he said he'd check it out. We had this audition. He came in. We were like, oh, it was a good audition, but, it wasn't like crazy or insane, which clearly this character had to be. And the second time around, it was like, hey, so that's awesome. How about crazy and insane? And boom. I mean, it was so amazing. And so the reality is that we were super lucky on all levels, on the level that he wanted to do it. That's the reality. He wanted to do it. The story was that good. The craziness was that good. It was very anti, you might say, whatever a boy band is. It was very anti that, and he went for it, and it was awesome. I really think, like, I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to become a major star, actor because of this. And if he doesn't, I failed, because he really was.
No, he looks phenomenal.
I also wonder, you have a lot of people in the production. Did you advertise this in Backstage West, Actors Access? Like, where did you go out and get all of your actors? Or were they all just homies?
Wow,
be my film.
It's so amazing that you guys know, like, you're asking all the inside questions. It's almost like, oh God, she knows everything. What the hell? Anyway, so
past me.
I know.
Something.
It's like, do you know I don't have pants on too? Gee.
Me either. I'm also pantless.
They call them Zoom meetings. I call them pantless meetings. Anyway, so to answer your question, because most of the gang was very hooked into, like, you might say, the underground theater scene, the underground independent film scene. So we know a lot of people, and we had to pull on people we knew, because no one was stupid enough to do it for no money with us, except our friends who we strangled and made do it. So truly, it's our friends and our people mostly, and they did have to come with the spirit of small theater, which is, hey, we're just going to do it because we love it, because there's no guarantee of anything, financially. So that's how it went.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with, I think during these times, I think people who are, don't have film projects to do or don't have that kind of theater work, I think you should be looking for those kind of outlets, those kind of independent film companies or those small theater houses, because I want to ask you this, Kenneth, like, how are these theater companies going to combat this and even film during a COVID-19 pandemic? What are you doing to keep yourself active during these times? Because it sounds like we're going to be bunkered down for quite a while.
Yeah, well, just like you guys, and I said to you in our pre-meeting, I was so impressed that you guys just keep going, and the thing is, I've always faced adversity, and you always do, even if you have $100 million. I've worked with so many different people at so many different budget levels over the years, and working with Michael Bay on his project where they're screaming and yelling about not having enough money the whole time, and I went, oh my God, that's just like us, and you guys are invited to not do anything when this all happens too, right? But you keep going, and I think to everyone, and even to myself, I hang out with people like you who keep doing it and inspire me to keep doing it, and I keep trying to encourage and bring people forward. And I have 2 more feature projects, I have 2 documentaries, and my whole thing is, okay, well, we're not going to pay cash, let's see if I can find out another way to, what can we do to keep it going? And that's really what it's all about ultimately for me. Whenever I speak to anyone about acting or dancing or producing or directing, I always say, if it's not COVID, it's something else. And how are you going to keep it going? And there's just some crazy people like you and you who keep it going. So,
crazy? Crazy?
Yeah, crazy? Just a little bit crazy.
Sorry, I didn't have enough injected disinfectant. I've lost my marbles. Let me get some.
Well, hey, Kenneth Hughes, I just wanted to leave this time for everybody out there. Where can they follow you on social media?
Oh, God. Well, obviously the film is on everything. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're releasing little clips and all those sorts of things. They can follow me personally, but really I'm not that interesting. I'm only as interesting as the projects I have. So, but yeah, anyone can follow me and anyone can talk to me. I always, I've toured internationally, lecturing at film festivals on filmmaking and all that stuff. And I always try to make myself available to people that want to, get inspired, get kicked.
And Kenneth, for our listeners, can you please say the name of the movie again?
Vampire Burts Serenade.
Nice.
Yeah,
and if you like what you are listening to, go to thechriscollinshow.com and become a member today and pick up that free CCS t-shirt.
That's right. Well, Kenneth Hughes, we love you, my friend, and everybody go check it out. That is Vampire Burts Serenade. Thanks, my friend. What's good? I'm Chris Collins. For more updates on the future of our generation, be sure to subscribe to our channel and check out thechriscollinsshow.com. Peace.